We are just over the halfway stage of the Ocean Race Europe 2025. So I thought I would take a look at each of the teams in turn from the leaderboard and explain where I think they are in terms of the racing, but also how the miles have taken their toll on each of the sailors. First up, Biotherm. And Paul Mayer's team seem unstoppable. But more than that, they also seem fresh, energized, completely unfazed by the wind and the waves and the heat and the scorching sun and whatever trials and tribulations that the racecourse has thrown at these sailors. Paul Mayer and his sailors have won every single offshore leg so far. They've also been the first to every bonus gate so far. I'm sure that his performance has surpassed even his own wildest expectations. And after all their strong sailing, they are now sitting 12 points clear of the rest of the pack. And that means that if they finished fourth in the last two remaining offshore legs and the coastal at Boca Bay, they would still be there to lift the trophy. Weird to say, but I can almost imagine us being disappointed with this team if they do win, but they don't do it with a clean sweep. That's the level of perfection that I think we have come to expect from this boat. Team Holcim PRB and Paprika Arkea are next on the leaderboard, and they are still just within reach of that top spot. So let's talk about Rosalind Kuiper's team first. Now, this first-time skipper came into the race already with an awful lot on her shoulders, namely taking the lead role in Team Holcim PRB, an ambitious team that wants to see results while she was still in her 20s. You add into that the drama of what happened with the crash on leg one and what a low point that must have been. So for her and for the rest of the team, the fact that they are still racing and very much performing and within reach of the trophy must feel fantastic, considering that it might all have come to an end in Kiel. For Paprika Arkea's Johan Rashom, he is a sailor that is used to winning, but he's not winning here. Now, any athlete will have spent time watching your rivals outperform you, trying to learn from those battles and those losses. But it's not fun while you're doing it, and it can really take its toll. And the biggest thing I think it does is it can create a desperation. And then you get to a place where you start taking risks and you start gambling. And that seemed to happen at the start of leg four, just before the scoring gate, with a very close cross between Paprika Arkea and Team Militia. It was a small moment, but I think it could be a moment that we might see have a big effect if indeed Boris Herrmann wants to pull that up in front of the jury. One thing is for sure for Johan Rashom and for the rest of his team: they need to win this leg. They need the energy that comes from a strong performance as we push on to Montenegro. Team Militia can't win from here. Boris Herrmann's team have missed out on too many bonus gates, and they've also been slipping off the podium on all but one of the offshore legs. Now that they find themselves in fourth overall, their only goal is to see if they can climb onto the podium in this last dash for points. And Boris Herrmann is well known. He is exceptionally strong at keeping a team together and fostering an incredible spirit. He's as much about the atmosphere on board and the adventure as he is about the racing. But do not be fooled. He is a racer at heart. And if they finish off the podium, that will be a tough reality for this team to face. Ambrosia Beccaria is another skipper who has been on quite the emotional journey in this edition of the Ocean Race Europe. After being found at fault of the crash on leg one, they didn't get any compensation points for sitting that leg out. To banish those demons, they claimed a hard-fought third place in leg three of this race. If they can just keep their energy up, we could still see them fighting hard as we get into those final stages. Canada Ocean Racing, Be-Water Positive, and Scott Scheuer and his lineup of experienced, round-the-world veterans were always going to feel a little bit uncomfortable in this more sprint-like version of offshore racing. Scott Scheuer, Pip Hare, Brian Thompson, the big names of this team, they don't really need success in this race to carry themselves forward. For Scott Scheuer, he's thinking about the future, and every mile, win or lose, is about gaining that experience. Now, Team Amala is in the opposite position. While their stated aim is to help the young generation of Swiss sailors gain offshore experience for the future, it cannot be fun. It can't feel good to be outclassed. Obviously, they have a boat that is just physically slower, and they're lining up against teams with years of racing experience. Add in that Alan Rohrer has at least 2 new crew members joining him for every offshore leg. It would be incredibly easy to imagine this team just resting up and cruising to the finish line, knowing that they were never really in the race to begin with. But it hasn't happened yet. Somehow they keep trying to find ways to sneak past, searching for things that the other teams might have missed. It's impressive to see them refuse to just sit down and take the beating. So 7 teams in our race, and who do I think is going to win? Who do I think we're going to see on that podium in Boca Bay? Well, obviously, you'd be a fool not to pick Biotherm. I mean, Paul Meyer really has sewn this up in fine form. But then it's really tight between Team Holcim PRP and Patrick Arquette. And if Johan Richomme can be on the water racing in his best head state, on his best day, he is absolutely formidable. But it's offshore racing. Anything can happen. And even Biotherm needs to make sure that they get to that final finish line to make sure that the trophy is theirs. We're over the halfway stage. The form has been written and the sailors are beginning to show us who they really are under pressure. But let's not rule anything out.